Hi everyone, welcome to today's ACM workshop. Today we'll be going over how to create your own personal website. My name is Shalane Mathur.
My name is Johnson.
My name's Kevin.
All right, so let's jump right in and learning how to create your own personal website.
So, why would you do this in the first place, and why would you care? Well, you should be a little versed in front end, even if not that's not the field that you want to get into. And then for this workshop, especially, it's helpful to know a little bit of HTML and CSS. It's recommended that you install Visual Studio and the live server extension that will allow you to see the changes that you made on the site on the fly. And to follow along, we put a GitHub repo for you guys to look and follow what's going on.
Yeah, and also when we attach a class name to element, you'll need that for CSS, so follow along with that.
Something to, would you like to explain this, Jonathan?
Yeah, so this is the class names that we're talking about that you want to include. So every time we say class equals a name right here, so like class equals front page, class equals background, class equals nav button list, you want to put those on because we're going to be using that for the CSS portion.
So the best way to set up your working directory when you're working with HTML and CSS is in your area that you want to set up your directory in. Set up a working directory with index.html, style.css, and an image folder where you like to include all your images that you'll be using towards your website. And this is usually the general format for when creating a website. And you would want to include more files for organization and readability. So, the first thing you should do is copy some boilerpoint HTML code. You don't need to memorize the layout of it, but it is highly recommended that you get familiar with it, with the different purpose of the different tags. So like doc type HTML is kind of like the starting point of your HTML code. That's kind of like the starting foundation of that. And you want to fill in the titles and the meta tags with your own information. So you can put down like your name or like the website content, etc. And the link tag is important because in your href tag, you want to put your file name of your CSS file. And what that file should do is it should go in the same directory or folder.
Okay, and the front, we'll start off with the front page. So we'll split this part into two sections. We're gonna have the navigation bar and the main content of the page. And we should also remember that the web page elements should go inside the body tags. First thing we're gonna do is create a section on your web page, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a section. We'll be making two portions of this, two sections of this in this demo. So one for the front page and then one for the contact page. And although it's fun to do styling on our elements, it's recommended that you lay everything out with HTML and then style it after. So we're gonna start off with the navigation bar. Okay, so navigation bar, we're gonna make an unordered list, which is an unordered list. It's a list of elements that don't have any particular order to them. And we can add in as many links as we want. So as many pages or links that we have. And these can be towards, like I said, these can be towards parts of your page or to another web page. And the first link shown will navigate to the contact me section of the page, while the other two are to external sites. So that's the one that we have here. The first one we can see inside the list, unordered list, we have a couple list elements. And in the first list element, we're going to have a link. Links are, you can tell if it's a link because it has an A tag. A usually refers to a link. And then for the href, that's where we want to navigate to when it's clicked on. We put a pound sign and then contact me. That means we're going to go to the part of the page of our web page that has this ID, contact me. And we're also going to give it a class name of navlink. So just in case we want to use it later. and then the text contact me inside. And then down here on these two, we have links to external web pages, and it opens up in a new tab because we have this target equals underscore blank, and that's pretty much it for these for the nav bar for the HTML portion.
And now we're going to move on to the main content of the page, or specifically the background. Here we can put our background as a class name background1. And then for the header, this is just basically the text that pops over the photo that you choose. You can see there, hello, my name is Tuffy, and welcome to my website. And then in the image source, it's pretty self-explanatory. You create a file called images, and then inside that file, that's where you add the photo or the JPEG that you want. And we named it front page back.
Okay, now we're going to show the code a little bit. So this is the front page that we just made. So you see here we have the inside the section. So we want the section to encase like the entire thing. So we have a section, and inside we're going to have the nav bar here, and then we're going to have that main content that Kevin was just talking about. And right, if you follow this correctly, what you should see is this on your page. So we have the image. It might be bigger or smaller than this, depending on what image you use. We have that header, and then we have the nav bar elements here. And you can see it hasn't been styled yet, but this is what a website would look like without any styling. And let's move on.
All right, so now we'll be going over the so we're going to be going over the contact me page portion of the website. So this is going to be the part of the website where you'll see how to contact this person, and kind of like with images and stuff. So there's going to be a title of the page with the picture and some text, and then we're going to be placing that image in its text in a div, because we want them to be in a row independent of the title of the page. So we're going to be creating a header called contact me right in the middle of the page. And then we're going to be creating a div class called contact me row, which will contain the image of the person you would be contacting, as with the image file name, which is images/tuffy.jpg. And then we will create like a little sub paragraph where you would be able to contact that person. So visit me at acmCSUF.com is kind of the how you would be contacted in that little paragraph.
Okay, and we'll show the code for that, which is right here, which is exactly how it was shown on the slides. And if you followed that correctly, you should have this. Pretty simple. Just as Shalini was describing, the header, image, and then a little paragraph right here. Okay. Let's move on. So that's it for the HTML. And like I just showed you, your page should look very bare bones and pretty basic, but that's why we're going to use some CSS to make it look a little better. So the CSS portion. And first we're going to copy some CSS. We recommend copying the CSS here because it ensures we're on a working on a clean slate. So there's like default settings that are already set for you that we don't want. That's going to create spacing in certain areas that we really don't want to be there. And anything inside the asterisk and curly braces will apply to the entire document. And like I said, from a simple point of view, the CSS here will prevent any white space from forming in unwanted areas, but it's highly encouraged that you study up and figure out what these things do. Yeah, so you want to understand what they do and don't just blindly copy them. And we also added a font family to give like smoother text. So we used Arial and some alternatives to make it look smoother. And then the scroll behavior, we made it smooth so that when we navigate to a certain portion on the page, it's going to give our page some smooth scrolling behavior. And we'll show exactly how that looks like right now. So actually we'll move on to the front page first, and then we'll show how it looks like.
Now, I said before, you're going to be putting a background in the div. So let's try to clear up some confusion to that. We're going to be using this image. A div is basically the content in the middle. It literally says content in the middle, it's the green thing. And the padding is the thing around the content. And then that will have whatever you put inside it. And then the border, think of it like a picture frame. That's the frame outside the picture, and the margin is out the space outside of the frame.
So there may be some confusion that you guys might be confused about between position, relative position versus absolute position. So for another element to become a child to that parent, you must give the position absolute CSS property. And then you can give the child element properties relative to that parent, usually for distance from top and left of the parent. So parent to screen, which is like the big box. And yeah, we can give the parent an attribute.
Yeah, and to set the parent, to give that big box the parent attribute, we need to say position relative right there. And position absolute would give something a child property. So we'll show that in a second. So in our first section here, okay, so in our first section, we're gonna do the front page and the nav bar. So I'm gonna try my best to go through these. So for the front page, so that's the section here. We want to give a background color to it, and then we want to give it that parent property with position relative. And then we're just going to set the minimum height to 100% and minimum width to 100% to make sure that it takes up our entire screen, that one section, it takes up our entire screen. And then the nav button list, this is the unordered list right here. We want that to be in the front of the page, so that's what we're going to use z-index for. This is z-index 5, so that basically brings it up to the front of the page in terms of layers. And position absolute makes this unordered list a child of the front page. And some other things like background color here. This is like a grayish or see-through grayish kind of color. And then we said from relative to the top of the page, we want to be 0 pixels from it. And we want to say the height of that unordered list is 4 REM. You can think of REM as like the root element size. And width is going to be 100% of the page. Display flex makes sure that our list is displayed horizontally. You see right here, it's displayed in a column. So display flex makes it horizontal. List style none takes out the bullet point, and justify content space between makes sure that our stuff is spaced evenly. So if we save this, we should see. So we can see that the nav bar spaced out evenly at the top of the page with that color that we said we wanted. And also we gave the link some styling here. So we said if I hover over it, I'm going to transform its scale by 1.1 times, so it makes it 1.1 times bigger. And we also added transition 0.5 seconds, all 0.5 seconds to give the animation 0.5 second time. And I won't be explaining this padding stuff here. Actually, I'll do that. So padding is the space in between the actual button, but it's a little bit confusing to see right here. So I suggest you just look up some more information about padding and borders and margins to learn a bit more about that and understand why that happens. Okay. And here's the
And
main
that,
content.
and now let's move on to the main content. Let's start off with the background one. So if you just added your image, you'd notice that it's not really. Oh, I'm sorry. If you put position absolute, now it becomes the child of the entire box. So now it's inside of the box. But now you're facing another problem where it's sort of not in the middle. But that's how the system recognizes the middle. The middle is actually the top left corner of that image. So that's why we have the left 50% and the top 50%. That what that does is if moves it left by 50% and moves it to the top by 50%. So now it's sort of in the middle. And now let's move on to the background header one. So the text align basically makes sure that in there it's in the middle, or it's perceived middle. Its font size, that's pretty explanatory. Position absolute, the text is now the child of the background that you put it in. And then the width is basically the parent that's the text is inside in. And if you put the width at 50%, the box would only take up half of the image itself. So now the text would only show up on the left-hand side. That's why I put it at 100%, so it would show up in the very middle itself.
Mm-hmm. And final thing is that we put a transform translate -50%, -50% property here to shift the image from the top left corner to the middle of the page. So it goes from this image right here from the right side to the left side after we put that there. And that's the result that we have here. Now we can see our contact me page is still pretty bare bones, and Charlene will explain that.
All right. So for the contact me portion, like to make it a little bit more nicer, like with more color and make it more organized. So we're going to be looking at the contact me portion of the page. So position relative. So we're going to put the position to relative. And what that does is kind of positions relative to its normal position. And then we set the top, right, bottom, and left properties of a relatively positioned element. Will kind of cause the position to be adjusted away. And then we want to set the background color to aquamarine, which is a tealish color. And we want to set the height and width of the contact me portion of the page to 100%, so that it fits in the page. And then if we look at the header for the contact me, we want the font size to be 3.5 pixels. So that's, I think that's like this big, I think. And then we want the width to be 100%. And then we want the text of the contact me text to be right in the center of the page. And then for the picture we're going to be using, we want the border to, be a little bit solid, no dashed lines or anything, just full solid. And then we'll make the border with 10 pixels, which will give it a different shape. And then we want to set that border color to a blue violet color, so like around like purplish. And then both the border radius and the margin of the picture, or like the border of the radius will be 50%, while the margin will be around 10%. And then for the row of the contact me page, we want that to be absolutely positioned, while the contact is in the center top, and then both top and the left portion will be at 50%. And the transform part will, I think we'll do 50% translate. And then we want a flex display with 100%, and then we want the font size to be 2.5, which is around this big.
And what the Tuffy pig does here with the border radius of 50%, it makes an oval shape. So go ahead and show that. So first I'll uncomment out this. Oh, actually I have to uncomment out everything. So we'll just take a look at what the result will look like. And if we go down here, we see the picture turns into an oval. And then that contact me row is this imaginary box in the middle of the page that takes up the image and this visit me at acmCSUF.com. And then of course there's the header at the top right here, which is aligned in the center. And now we can see if we click contact me, it will scroll all the way down here. If you have more pages, we can also apply that same thing by adding more buttons here. And then by clicking those buttons, it will scroll, make a smooth scroll to that part of the page. But what's important is that we use this ID, we give it an ID, that page. So in this case, we gave that contact me page ID of contact-me. And then we just added the href to # contact me. Pound signs for IDs. And that basically allows us to do this animation right here. And the links here, they just open up in a new tab to different websites. And GitHub's just GitHub website. And that is pretty much it for our website. This is a really simple demonstration for our website. And you're welcome to add on more if you want to make it more special for yourself. Let me open back the presentation. So this is how it looks like, what I was just explaining. And if there's any questions, I guess you could leave it in the Discord.
Hey, Jason, you joined in a little too late.
Oh, I see.
That's all right. We recorded it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And over here, you can join us at our Discord. You can join and follow our Twitter and our Instagram. And then if you scan this QR code, it will directly link you to our Discord.
I see.
Yeah, and then do check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We're always updating the community of various events and extras. So do follow us on social media. But yeah, always thanks for joining our workshop of how to creating a personal website. Glad you guys were able to check it out.